word to wise. Grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Before we get started, if you want to see more awesome comic book videos like this one, it only takes 2 clicks to become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers. Click, click. What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so today this is part 2 of this Patreon requested video by Absolute Venom, and who is one of Earth's mightiest subscribers who pledged $25 to request that I cover this topic. Technically, he did it twice in a row, so he actually did 50, so that's also technically why he's getting 2 parts. He wanted me to talk about Power Rangers Shattered Grid. And Absolute Venom, knowing that I'm a big fan of Super Sentai and Tokusatsu in general, he wanted my thoughts on this. So we've already done part 1. If you have not seen that video, I will link it in the description and go check that out before you watch this video, because spoilers, I mean, you know, that's a thing. But anyways, I'm just gonna go straight on in from where we left off, which would, if I'm not mistaken, be Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 27. Now, Time Pink is struggling a little with her memories and her body adjusting to the new timeline. Because of all the stuff that's been going on, the stuff that Lord Drakkon has done, the stuff that has happened to her team, being lost into the time stream and all this other stuff. And this is something that gives Kimberly hope that they can save Tommy, but Jen warns her that this is not how time travel works. There's still no way for them to go back any further and save Tommy, and even if defeating Lord Drakkon saved Tommy and all of their other friends, there's no guarantee that they would be the same people. Something Jen has first-hand knowledge of with her beau, Axel. That when Axel came back due to time travel, he was not the same Axel. There were little differences that made him be a completely different person and made their relationship become something completely different. Speaking of hard truths, Dr. K of Power Rangers RPM fame has to face one as well. The ground war against Lord Drakkon and his Psycho Rangers and his anti-Ranger army is not something they can hope to win. Even with backup from what's left of Power Rangers SPD, Lightspeed Rescue, Jungle Fury, Dino Charge, and Megaforce. I'm sorry, I do not like Power Rangers Megaforce. If you like it, that's fine. And I know some people tried to call me elitist because I don't like the American Power Rangers as much as I love the Japanese ones. But I'm gonna go ahead and just tell you right now, there's no way you can watch Power Rangers Megaforce or Super Megaforce and then go watch Go Sager or Kaizoku Sentai Go Kaiger and tell me that Megaforce is the better show. I'm sorry, you just can't. I'm sorry. Hell, Megaforce isn't even as good as the next worst American version of Power Rangers. Just gonna throw that out there. But anyways, there's no hope. She doesn't want to abandon Corinth. And despite Jason and many other Rangers trying to convince her Corinth is lost and they must escape via teleportation before Drakkon kills them all, she doesn't want to hear that. Jason tries to make her see the reason that she is the key. Drakkon is truly afraid of what she can accomplish for the Rangers. Hence, why he tried to recruit her but sent a life model decoy instead. But Dr. K does know that she's important. She knows that she's that important to the cause. And more importantly, she knows what it would take for Jason's wishes to happen. The barrier protecting Corinth would have to be destroyed. And for those who don't understand why this is a big deal to her, you have to understand that Power Rangers RPM and Dr. K have fought long and hard to protect Corinth. She doesn't want to see it all fall for nothing. On a sidebar, they are able to rescue former Galaxy Rangers villain turned Galaxy Pink Corone, or Astronema as she was when she was a bad guy. So there's that. This is more of a sign that things are further in the timeline than Time Pink expected. She even gets reunited with her brother Andros, so, that's a thing. All the while, in Drakkon's end of the timeline, both Zacks and Trini's from the main timeline and the future timeline are using Skull, that's right, Skull, as in Bulk and Skull's intel to sneak inside Drakkon's fortress. Now, if you're confused, it's probably here where I should mention that Bulk and Skull are not the same bullies and idiots from the early days of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TV show. In a lot of ways, the future timeline Bulk and Skull are like their latter-day TV counterparts, only maybe more competent. Competent enough that Skull has infiltrated Drakkon's army and become a high-ranking officer, acting as a sleeper agent for the coinless resistance led by future Zack and future Trini. And now that hard work is about to pay dividends because it's time to free Ninjor, something they're able to accomplish thanks to Skull, but what they aren't able to do is save future Zack, who takes an L for the team so present-day Zack, future Skull, and alternate reality Ninjor can break camp. But even future Skull takes an L for the team as well, getting captured by the anti-Ranger Sentries and later having his neck broken by Lord Drakkon. But Ninjor is able to blow the roof off this whole thing because now that he's no longer mind controlled, he reveals that Drakkon isn't killing the Rangers he's depowered. He isn't using the power of the Morphin Grid to depower the Rangers either. He's using the power of the Rangers he's dominated and depowered to break inside the Morphin Grid, to get to the center of it all, and he's not that far from accomplishing his goal. From here, Ninjor reveals many things we the reader would already know by now, but the Rangers don't. And I won't rehash it here, just go back and check out that last video, link in the description and all that. Just know that what Drakkon is doing is weakening the barrier to the grid. All they know now is that with the help of Gray Sterling and Prometheus resources paired with Dr. K's ingenuity, they have everything they need to reinforce their morphers and nullify the Dragon Cannon's depower effect, as well as give them a fighting chance to take the fight to Drakkon's fortress, the very source of his power. Using the weakened state of the grid's barriers, some slick communications by Alpha 5, and the Terra Venture, a vehicle we now learn was created by Gray Sterling, every available Ranger is present and accounted for. Zeo, Lost Galaxy, Ninja Storm, Beast Morphers, which at the time this comic came out wasn't even a thing yet, Alien Rangers, or as I prefer, Kaku Ranger, because Alien Rangers is wild trash, Mystic Force, Ninja Steel, and the list just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. Still, no Die Ranger though. Hashtag sad trombone. They even have the Hyperforce Rangers from the web series. That's a thing. Regardless of all that, Megazords and Rangers as far as the eye can see, with Jason leading the ground force and Kimberly taking the Dragon Megazord and Dragon Shield and leading the Megazord squad. Not only do they have that ace up their sleeve, but another as well. The Ranger Slayer, Kimberly from the future. I haven't really focused on her end of the arc yet because largely it focused on the past and things that didn't really matter yet. But during her campaign battling the Mighty Morphin Squad back before Drakkon broke the timeline, her one-on-one battle against the present-day Kimberly ended with Kim using an exposed power line inside the command center to shock the living shit out of her and restore the Ranger Slayer and break Drakkon's mind control over her. Hence why Drakkon and Finster seem put off by how the Ranger Slayer is responding to them, and now that the Ranger Slayer has become an ally to the Mighty Morphin army, and she now promises to slay Lord Drakkon once and for all. But she's also going renegade at the same time. She has a plan that Zordon won't like, and she's willing to do anything, including hurting her past friends, to ensure their future. But what if this isn't enough? An army of every Ranger that ever lived, minus Die Ranger and every Ranger squad that existed before Mighty Morphin or after that was never adapted. What if this is still not enough? Drakkon, even though his body is deteriorating due to all the stress of the power he's absorbing, a fact the Rangers don't know yet, is still very dangerous. They'll need even more firepower that comes from a dangerous place. Something Zordon is terribly hesitant to do, but knows this is the only way forward. The enemy of your enemy can either be your friend or your enemy. And in this case, Zordon is hoping Rita Repulsa and her wayward troublemaker squad will be the former and not the latter. Now, before you ask, this is our Rita Repulsa, the main timeline's Rita Repulsa, not the one that Lord Drakkon iced in his own timeline. Rita doesn't seem to initially care for Zordon or Doggy Kruger's presence, but they present her with something even she can't turn down. A chance to save the world, and Rita being the only person capable of helping them do it. And Rita is just too vain and narcissistic to turn that down, no matter how evil she is. But remember when I said in the last video that Lord Drakkon was going to make something special from Red Ninja Steel's Morpher and Shuriken? He has. He has now crafted a blade that can steal the Ranger's powers, no different than his dragon cannons. And he's also brought back Serpentera, Lord Zed's own personal Zord that he's brought over from his timeline. Something that the Mighty Morphin Rangers haven't seen yet because the comic hasn't gotten to that point where Lord Zed is a thing. And with little to no effort, Drakkon and Serpentera have crushed 4 separate Megazords and are already breaking off squads of Rangers, but Kim has a trick up her sleeve, using her bow to fire the Dragon Dagger directly into Drakkon's solar plexus. A shot that seems pointless at first, until Drakkon realizes this might be too much power being absorbed into himself, and his body begins breaking down. But it's not really the dagger that did it. You see, Drakkon's power has increased exponentially since his time as Rita's slave, but his power is still based on her magic, and the dreaded green candle works just as much now on Lord Drakkon as it did to Tommy of the Mighty Morphin timeline. It's breaking his body down and sapping his powers, but Rita is taking it a step further. She doesn't want to wait for the candle to burn out naturally. She wants to snuff it out right now. But before Zordon and Kruger can moral high horse Rita out of it, Finster 5 interrupts everything. Finster tries to destroy the candle, but it's not that simple. It's magic. The only way forward is to proceed to the endgame. But Finster knows what we know. Drakkon's taken too much power as it is, and anymore, and he's donezo. But Drakkon suffers no weakness, even from those he cares about. And Finster 5 is one of the few, if not only ones, Lord Drakkon even truly loves in his own bizarre, twisted way. And he ends Finster 5 so he can finish the game. That said, as the power overtakes him, and though the Hyper Rangers merge their Megazord with the Black Dragon Megazord to form something much bigger, and the Q-Rex piloted by Jason, Serpentera is still too much, leading to the Q-Rex becoming a chew toy for Serpentera, but not before Jason was able to destroy the tower. And with its destruction, the Anti-Ranger Sentries begin losing their power. But that doesn't matter, because Lord Drakkon has achieved Broly levels of power. The barrier to the grid is destroyed. Things get weird afterwards too, as Drakkon finds himself in a realm where Rita and Zordon are his parents and are happily married. He's basically Superman, fighting off the White Tiger Spirit and Falcon Spirit, and getting interviewed by Zack and Trini for a post-Saving the City news scrum. This comes off as a very Injustice style Superman in the form of Lord Drakkon. All of the various Rangers are there, all friends with Drakkon. They all love him and all support his every whim. And deep down, the original recipe Tommy Oliver is buried in there with him and making him see his truth. Everywhere Drakkon looks, he sees that original Tommy Oliver. And this Tommy knows what Drakkon won't admit. It's killing him that in all the multiverse, he's the only evil Tommy. And everyone always loves Tommy. But he's the only one who doesn't experience that. He's the only Tommy in existence that is flawed. We saw a taste of this when Drakkon infiltrated Power Rangers Zeo earlier in this storyline. You can find that part in the last video as well. And even in his relationship with Finster 5, we even learn a little later that the reason these energy beasts, these white tiger spirits and falcon spirits keep coming back is because they are Lord Drakkon's own self-doubts given shape. And somehow, with the barrier weakened as much as it is, Tommy is able to return. And it's all thanks to the Ranger Slayer. When Future Kim went renegade after she regained her memories, she hunted down the original Tommy and shot an arrow into his heart. An arrow made up of chaos crystal shards. And at that moment, it didn't harm him. Nothing happened. All Tommy knew was that when the time was right, he'd understand. And since he was killed by Lord Drakkon, he's been trapped beyond the grid, watching the Rangers, his friends, struggle against this new foe. And it wasn't until he met the emissaries, essentially the protectors and representatives of the Morphin Masters, characters we met not long ago and I glossed over because at the time it wasn't relevant. But Zordon was able to meet them and convince them that this team, his team, was worth saving. Something that the emissaries are forbidden to do, engaging in and saving the Power Rangers. But Zordon did eventually convince them that they needed to intervene, and they have. They did so by restoring Tommy. But even they admit it might be too late. Drakkon took the heart of the Master, a powerful artifact, and the same crystal we've seen him wielding in his chest during this whole never past bedtime land multiverse realm that Lord Drakkon has created. And with Drakkon aware Tommy is back, the final showdown has begun. Even with Tommy back, even with a whole ass Dragon Zord and a white Tiger Zord at their disposal, Drakkon is still too much for them. I mean, that's no surprise, because literally an army of every Ranger ever and every Megazord ever wasn't enough to stop him. But this fight was never about a battle to the end, with Lord Drakkon on one side and every Ranger in existence on the other. It was never about the Mighty Morphin team taking on Drakkon in a brawl for it all. This fight ends the only way it can and the only way it ever should. Lord Drakkon versus the Green Ranger inside the heart of the Master. And here, Drakkon is no longer the most powerful being. His self-doubt, coupled with Tommy's confidence and willpower, make Drakkon weaker. They're now on equal footing. No powers, no Zords, no special dragon shield or flute, just straight hands. Drakkon wasn't different. You see, Tommy reveals that Drakkon wasn't different from all the other Tommies in existence because he chose to stay evil. He was different because he never allowed himself to have allies, friends, family, real ones. And because of that, Drakkon will always be weaker than him. Enough so that Tommy kicks him out of the heart of the Master and returns everyone back to the real world. The grid is crumbling into nothingness as reality is tearing itself apart. The Rangers and Tommy are going to return to the new reality, one they're going to create themselves, leaving Drakkon behind. He wants no part in their world. He will stay in the old one, alone and without friends. Tommy tries his best to help him understand it doesn't have to be that way. But Drakkon turns his back, and now the Rangers must create a new world. And this time, it's one where they will save their friends, everyone, no matter what, not just in their world, but every world. And there you go. That is basically the story of Power Rangers Shattered Grid in a nutshell of 2 videos. Like I said, it's a great story, and I know some people will probably think it's a little hokey there towards the end, but honestly, it's no different to me than any other Mighty Morphin Power Rangers episode I'd ever seen before, so I wouldn't expect the comic to be any different. It's always going to be about friendship and doing what's right and, valuing friends over evil acts and things like that. It's just a thing. It's very Power Rangers. But anyways, I thought this was a really cool story. I actually like the character of Lord Drakkon. I think I said this in the last video. I find him very, very interesting. I also didn't mind how they brought Tommy Oliver back. I thought it was a little bit much at first, but I kind of got into it the more it went along. I mean, they didn't really give you enough time to really, dwell on it. So I really only thought about it after the fact. But it's one of those situations where I was actually even surprised they killed Tommy in the first place, considering the fact that in the original series that Mighty Morphin is based on, the Green Ranger doesn't disappear from the series because he lost his powers. He disappeared from the series because he died. The green candle took his life. So when Tommy just kept hanging around after he lost his powers and came back with more powers and just kind of seemed to be everywhere, it just kind of seemed weird to me. But, hey, it's different strokes for different folks. It takes different strokes to move the world. But that said, I thought this was a great story. I do kind of wish they would have maybe given a little more focus to some of those other Ranger teams. This is mostly a Mighty Morphin book, so of course they focus on the main squad, but I do wish that we would have gotten a little bit more out of some of those other Ranger teams that I really liked. I would have loved to have seen more with SPD and RPM and Time Force and all that stuff. But anyways, that said, it's a great story. I highly recommend you check this out. And just like with everything else I do, I didn't tell you everything. I just gave you the stuff, the meat and potatoes. There's still plenty of story in there that I did not address. But anyways, let me know what you thought about Power Rangers Shattered Grid by Boom Studios and a ton of artists and writers that I'm not going to take the time to name because there are just so many. But if you go watch the first video, you'll find out who they all are. But anyways, let me know what you thought about Power Rangers Shattered Grid. Sound off in the comments.
So hey, you made it to the end of the video. Awesome for you. If you enjoyed this video, and if you made it this far, I don't see how you didn't, do me a favor. Hulk smash that like button. And if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you click subscribe so you can become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers. And tap that bell so you know when I post up. Also, feel free to go check out my Patreon, where if you chuck in a buck, you can get early access to most of my videos up to a week early. And if you have time, make sure you swing by nerd901.com, where you can find more of my content as well as other amazing stuff. Anyways, until next time, I love you 3000 plus Ultra!